Owning a pet can be quite fun and very fulfilling. The thing is, it's also a very huge responsibility. Sometimes so much so that some pet owners have resorted to letting their pets go and releasing them into the wild. Aside from it being highly illegal, especially in the US, there are another million reasons why you shouldn't release pets in the wild. Number 1 is a very big no-brainer, but please do stay tuned for that. With all that said and done, let's begin, shall we? Okay, first off, if you've ever kept a snake as a pet, at least venomous for the most part, you're pretty insane. Snakes are some of the most dangerous creatures on Earth. They can put a hurt on you unlike any other in so many different ways. So many that I'm not going to enumerate it to you guys one by one. It should honestly be pretty self-explanatory. Now, just as a reference though, I'm mainly talking about big snakes, and again, venomous snakes. Tiny little garden snakes and some small pythons, they're perfectly fine. But the large ones, no. In any case, these animals, which are already dangerous in captivity, can potentially wreak even more havoc if you release them in the wild, especially in areas where they aren't endemic. Snakes by design aren't very picky eaters. They prey on small animals or any animal small enough to fit into their mouths. Releasing one into a non-native habitat would likely mean you had to kill some smaller native species in that place. A geological survey in Everglades found out that a number of pythons released in that area has killed over 99% of population of smaller animals. So instead of releasing it to the nature, you should get a new owner for your pet snake once you cannot handle it. Hermit crabs are quickly becoming starter pets for those who have the taste for the exotic. However, these tiny guys are, and I'm sorry for saying this, completely boring, so non-enthusiast pet owners often find themselves trying to get rid of it, by any means necessary. And by that I mean by releasing it into the wild. But there are 2 reasons why you shouldn't release these tiny crustaceans into the wild. 1, these guys can carry certain bacteria from your tank into the wild, potentially destroying entire ecosystems. Although hermit crabs are usually caught in the wild before they end up in pet store shelves, as soon as it lives in any place other than its natural habitat, it can acquire certain bacteria and pathogens that, while not harmful to the hermit crab itself, can wreak some havoc on some wild populations of other species. And number 2, did you know that not all hermit crabs are the same? There is quite literally dozens upon dozens of this tiny species all around, and if you release one species in an area that is populated by a different species, then all hell breaks loose. You are introducing a non-endemic species into an ecosystem, and history has shown us that that is never a good thing. If you find yourself trying to get rid of your pet hermit crab, don't worry. There are actually people who rescue these tiny critters, and you're better off just by giving it to them. Specifically speaking, the giant African land snail, which is again fast becoming a very popular pet for the exotic-minded. But then again, like the hermit crab, people quickly get bored of them and try to get rid of them. But please, whatever you do, never ever release them into the wild. This animal is actually illegal in the United States because of its destructive power. To add to that, they breed very fast. In fact, the entire giant African land snail population in the United States can be tracked back to 1966 when a young boy brought 3 to Miami. His grandmother released them into their garden when they couldn't handle to take care of the snails. 7 years after the release of the snails, the population boomed to over 18,000 and caused so much damage to the environment that the state of Florida had to spend over $1 million to get rid of the snails, a job that took them 10 years to complete. This animal is taken as pets for many exotic animal lovers, mainly because they're pretty low maintenance and very easy to take care of. Well, while they're young and small. The problem begins when they get much bigger. So some owners got the idea to just release it back to nature, where they thought it belonged. What could go wrong? If you haven't caught on to the trend by now, releasing a non-native species to the wild will cause trouble to the environment, and this truth also applies to the green iguana. In California, Florida, and Hawaii, a number of released green iguanas have started a colony. The colony has been known to compete for food with and even prey on native species. Going out of control, the state of Hawaii has begun to ban this animal to protect native species in their forests. So for you green iguana owners, if you get tired of it or simply can't take care of it anymore, please just find a new parent for it. Please don't make Hawaii beg. If you think about it, the toad seems to be the least likely animal to become a very dangerous invasive species. Maybe that's the reason why they're popular as pets. But the fact of the matter is, they have proven to be very dangerous indeed. This is especially true when introduced into an area where they aren't endemic. As you know, per usual. In Hawaii, the Caribbean, and the Philippines, a certain species of toad was taken in as pets and was released into sugarcane plantations to help control pests that keep plaguing the fields. The cane toad, as it was known, was so efficient in controlling the pest population that it was soon being exported to plantations all over the world. Unfortunately though, cane toads have a nasty habit of not just eating crop pests and insects, but also just about any terrestrial animal that they can fit their grotesquely huge mouths around, which is saying something, given that they can actually grow to over 30 centimeters in length. They also secrete toxins capable of killing just about any animal they come in contact with. This means they can be seriously lacking in the natural predator department and quickly overrun a very large area. Beginning in the 1900s, red-eared sliders were captured in the wild for sale in markets and dime stores. Its small size and cheap price made it a very popular pet, and by the 1950s, millions of these turtles were being farmed and shipped abroad as part of the pet trade. Its novel size and increased popularity following the release of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics led many to purchase the turtles for their home aquariums. Unfortunately, some owners released the animals when they became too large or too much of a hassle, allowing them to expand into non-native territory. This practice is often viewed as a humane option over euthanasia. They remain the most popular aquatic turtle species for home aquarists. Red-eared sliders are well poised to be effective invaders. They reach sexual maturity at a young age and also have a very high fecundity. Red-eared sliders compete with native turtle species for food, habitat, and other resources. These turtles can get quite large and are notoriously aggressive, and can bully native turtles out of basking sites. That may sound a little strange, but these are actually critical resources for these reptiles. Reduced access to these sites can slow growth and increase mortality of native turtles. In fact, these tiny turtles are currently a problem in New York City, threatening the existence of the native spotted turtles, musk turtles, map turtles, bog turtles, wood turtles, and painted turtles. This fish has been a sought-after pet for aquarium enthusiasts, but was thrust into common consciousness by that bad Rob Schneider movie. If you haven't seen it, well, good for you. In any case, the red lionfish is hard to keep as a pet. If you have a lionfish and are thinking of releasing it into the wild, please stop and find another way to get it off your hands. 6 red lionfish were accidentally released into Florida waters in 1992, and since then the population of smaller fish has started to decrease. That is because the red lionfish is a carnivore, and a very adept hunter at that. In the warm coastal waters of Florida, they have plenty of food and no natural predators. This allows them to increase in numbers and in turn decimate the local fish population for lunch. Native reef fish take an average of 3 to 4 years to reach reproductive maturity, while lionfish take about 6 months. One female spawns about 2 million eggs per year, and the fish are known to eat up to 30 times their own stomach volume. Lionfish are reproducing at an alarming rate, and they are eating the other fish before they are even able to reproduce. I don't think I really need to say how bad that is, actually. Although they won't be winning any beauty contests anytime soon, some people consider chameleons as awesome pets, and with good reason. This animal's camouflage ability is legendary, and people seem to think that it's pretty cool to have a pet that has the John Cena power. Can I get it because you can't see him? I'll move on. The thing is, chameleons weren't supposed to be in our neck of the woods at all. They're native to the old world, specifically Africa, Madagascar, Southern Europe, and Southern Asia. And like with all non-endemic species released into the wild, in this case, Florida again, their impact is hugely destructive. There are currently 2 species of chameleon that are claiming Florida to be their home, the owllet and veiled chameleons. Owllet and veiled chameleons are predators that eat insects, small frogs, and lizards, and occasionally small mammals and birds. A study of owllet chameleons in a Florida agricultural grove found that they ate mostly agricultural pests and non-native reptiles and amphibians. However, as chameleons become established in natural areas, they may eat more native species. Veiled chameleons in Hawaii have been found to threaten native birds, insects, and plants. To make matters even worse, both veiled and owllet chameleons have very high reproductive rates and can tolerate a range of environmental conditions. Have you ever heard of the urban legend about giant mutant goldfish swimming around sewer systems? Legend has it that they were formerly pets who were accidentally, but more likely, intentionally flushed down toilets. However unlikely this story might sound, there is actually a lot of truth into it. Not the sewer part, but apparently discarded goldfish can grow to gigantic proportions. The photo you're seeing here is surprisingly legitimate, and is of a gigantic goldfish caught in Lake Tahoe. These fish were formerly aquarium fish that were accidentally or intentionally released into the alpine waters of Lake Tahoe. These fish seem to have found the conditions very favorable for them and have grown to great sizes and, as was recently discovered, have started to breed. Invasive species can harm native fish by destroying their habitat, preying on them directly, or interfering with their food source. In the case of the giant goldfish, researchers believe they may actually be harming Lake Clarity by fueling algae growth with their waste. Forest Service biologists have surveyed streams in the Lake Tahoe Basin since 2007, looking at numbers of native fish versus invasive species. They found the non-native species such as a brook trout, rainbow trout, bluegill, and brown bullhead only accounted to half of the fish surveyed. Rabbits don't only make excellent pets, they have other uses as well. Rabbit meat is a staple food in some countries, and hunting rabbits in these areas are actually a year-round thing. The big problem is when you introduce a rabbit into an area where it has no natural predators, couple that with their amazing rate of reproduction, well, let's just say the outcome is going to be worse than when a gremlin went swimming. In 1859, 24 rabbits were released to nature for the sake of hunting in Australia. From the 24 rabbits that were hunted, some of them survived and reproduced. By 1920, there were an estimated 10 billion rabbits in the country. Do you have a pet that you want to release back in the wild? Let us know in the comment section below. Want to watch more videos about amazing animals? Click on any of the videos you see on your screen.